Hello and a very warm welcome on Champion of Champions. I'm talking today to a man who gave a tiny country one of its proudest moments, and it's not just in cricket, a man who's a legend of our game, Arjuna Ranatunga. A very, very big thank you for you to have spared the time to talk to us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Let me begin by asking you, I mentioned the word young nation. You were a 14-year-old test nation in 1996 when you won a World Cup. When you look at the correlation between those numbers, does it stagger you, the feat that you accomplished?
I think if I'm going to start, I'll say that I was very lucky that I was picked to play for the national side when I was 18 in 1982. That's the same year, or 81, we got test status, but we played our first test match in 82 and I was a schoolboy where they picked me to play as a batsman. I think that gave me a different complex, especially when you analyze the entire cricketing history. I'm sure that I could see what really happened at the start, what really happened in the middle, what really happened close to 1990s, then maybe close to 1996. So it was more like a blessed thing happened to Sri Lanka, and I was very lucky that I could play in my first test match. When I look back, I could handle it properly because that I was with the team for so many years.
Arjuna, just looking at that time, I mean, let's be honest, before 94, 95, Sri Lanka were considered to be and also ran a whipping boy, so to speak, in world cricket. At what point did you start to alter that thinking and say, listen, let's go out there and be competitive as a cricket nation?
The complex change, especially after the 94-95 time. That's the time we went to New Zealand. In 95, we went to New Zealand. We beat New Zealand in New Zealand. That's the first time it happened to Sri Lanka to beat a test playing nation away from Sri Lanka.
Yes.
And I think it gave us a lot of pleasure, a lot of confidence. And then on the way back, we played in Sharjah. We won the tournament. Then we had a tour to Australia just before the World Cup. That was a really life-changing tour, and there were issues. I thought we really handled the issues well. That's the time the players started believing themselves. Players wanted to win, and the major factor was we were scared of losing. We were ashamed to be in the losing side. It never happened in the past. I think that gave us a lot of confidence to go to the World Cup.
Something interesting in the way Sri Lankan cricket emerged was you almost targeted one-day cricket as your sort of stepping stone to make an announcement to the world. And you mentioned the good results leading up to the World Cup. Was there a conscious decision that, listen, we'll keep on evolving as a test team, we've got to really get quickly better as a one-day team?
I think when we started, the World Cup was the biggest thing in the cricketing history. Yes, test cricket, maybe Ashes, maybe India playing Pakistan was huge. But generally, when it comes to the World Cup was the eye-opener for everyone.
Right.
So we decided it's very important for us to play good one-day cricket, maybe maybe win against most of the important sides. And when you start winning against important sides, like the big sides, I'm sure that a lot of people started looking at us. A lot of people wanted to sponsor us. They wanted to invite us to play in their own soil. So it has given us, when you started winning, it has given us a lot of opportunities. I think that was another key factor.
All right, let me ask you about, you briefly touched upon the tour to Australia, and Arjuna Ranatunga can't briefly touch upon a tour to Australia, especially that one. Not just the way you played your cricket, but the way you handled all the issues, especially with the Murli incidents with Darrell Hare. Was that a factor in gelling your unit together as a fighting team, as a team that took on anyone in their own backyard?
When we had the Australian tour, there were a lot of sleepless nights. People doesn't know a lot of things happen behind the screen. I think it was more like I always wanted to give comfort to the team. I love them to play cricket. We started work as a family rather than a unit. It was not a cricketing team. It was more like a family unit. I think it gave us. We started protecting Murali. Then we wanted to see Murali performing well, and there were a lot of new ideas came in. We started opening with Kaluvitarana, which no one believed that he could be a one-day opener. Then we started with a new theory where we give the spinners to bowl in the first couple of overs. So we created new ideas. I think it worked really well just before the World Cup.
Yeah, I wanted to actually get to you about the tactics. Now, this tactic of using attacking batsmen at the top of one-day cricket had been used before, but teams had used one attacking batsman usually. You decided to play two attacking batsmen at the top of a one-day innings. Can you tell us what was how did that idea germinate?
One day I went to Dulip one of the evenings, and we were having a very, very quiet chat, and I asked him, why can't we get Kalu to open? Then the amount of issues we had, we never wanted to think of anything else. So Dulip said, Arju, we have enough issues. We have ball tampering, Murali's chucking issue, and hotel issues, traveling. We were traveling from one side to the other side. So I said, no, we need to change this concept. Why don't we try this? And Kalu, tell you honestly, Kalu was not very happy to open. The first thing when I spoke to Kalu, he said, Ayya is the elder brother in Sri Lanka. So he said, Ayya, I have never opened. So I said, Kalu, you need to do a start. You need to do something for the first time. So this is a good opportunity. You are doing well. You are playing well. But ultimately, you are getting 30s, 20s, and you bat with the bowlers. So you struggle because of that. So he said, if you want, I'll give a shot and see. I said, we'll do a deal. It's more like maybe you try 4 games. If you don't perform, if you are not happy, we'll push you down to your normal position. And he was very keen. When he went back for next day, we got him to open. No one knew, even Dev Watmore, our coach, was we never told Dev at the start. We wanted to start with Kalu and see how he performs. So I had a long chat with Dulip while the first practice day. Kalu and Sanath went as the 2 openers to the nets, and then everyone looked at me and said, what is the reason for Kalu to bat with the new ball? I said, no, we just feel that we are not using him properly. Let him bat and see at nets. Then he came in the afternoon and he said, I'm pretty good. And then we push him to open in the next game, and he ended up getting 60. And I can remember that he massacred McGrath left, right and centre. He got about 60 runs in about 40 odd deliveries.
Arjun, I just want to take you back to the build up to the World Cup. The start, it was the first time a tournament was coming to Sri Lanka of this magnitude, and then 2 prominent teams decide not to play. What was that like?
I think as far as I was concerned, I was very happy and thrilled. I knew that before I played the tournament that I have got 4 points in my bag. Then we needed to beat Zimbabwe and Kenya. My theory was, if you can't beat Zimbabwe and Kenya, that you should not play in the World Cup. And then the crucial game was the Indian game. And when we played the Indian game, that's the time we got a shock saying that we are good enough to win this tournament. We were never think of winning the tournament at the start. We knew that we had outside chance, but when we beat India, chasing something like 260 or it was not a small total, but we had a good start. But Aravinda failed because we were depending big on Aravinda. But generally, the advantage I was talking about earlier, like the middle order was very strong. And I think after beating India, that's the time everyone started talking, oh, we are good, we can win this tournament. I think beating India in Delhi was the best thing happened on that particular tournament.
It was a World Cup in which the knockout stages, like the one that's coming up, started by the quarterfinal stage. And beating England in that quarterfinal and beating them really, really strongly. That must have been one more step towards realizing that, listen, we are on to something good here.
When we started, the first target was to get to the quarters, and after beating Kenya and Zimbabwe, we knew that we were in the quarters. But after beating India, we were heading the group, so we knew that we were playing with England. And on that particular World Cup, England was playing so badly, and they were losing. They were playing badly. But when it comes to the knockout stages, you can have one bad day, you are out of the competition. That was the biggest worry I had, playing England in Pakistan. But luckily, we got through that game. I think after beating England, we knew that we achieved what we wanted to achieve, and
The pressure was off.
pressure was off because that we needed to get to the semis. So we reached getting into the semis, beating England, and we never thought of the semi-finals and the finals at that particular time. Only when we came to India, we were thinking of playing India in the semis. It was a big thing, big game, and India was playing much better than any of the other sides. But the hidden advantage we had was that we beat India in India.
Yes.
In the first round, and we knew that when India plays in India, they are under a lot of pressure, especially playing in front of their own crowds has given them not to perform too good. So that was another advantage we had.
It started very badly, very well for India, but very badly for you. You lost both your sort of attacking batsmen very quickly in the game. Did you feel from that point onwards that it was going to take a lot for you to be competitive in that match?
It was more like to start with that we were wondering what to do before the toss. It was more like it was a new pitch at Eden Gardens, and we were a side where we were very good in chasing any total, and whether we should do the same thing or maybe bat first. There were a lot of discussions happened before the game, but when we lost the 2 early wickets, and I still can remember I went to Roshan Mahanam. I was wearing my thigh pad, and I had my box and the thigh pad on, but not my pads. I went to Roshan and I said, Roshan, why don't you pad up quickly? And he looked at me and said, why? No, I said, if we lose another early wicket, why don't you go before me? I'll push down to number 6. And then suddenly he changed, and I still can remember that he was not ready by the time we lost the 3rd wicket as well. But what we did, we always wanted to keep Aravind comfortable. That was the plan in the entire World Cup. We had the 2 openers. If they fail, we have Guru Singh. I think a lot of people talk about Jayasurya's, Aravinda's middle order, but the contribution made by Asanka Guru Singh was huge. I think when we needed someone to go there and bat for 50 overs, I think Asanka has done that job for us. Even in the semi-finals, he batted for little while, but finals he batted for some time. Maybe previously he got a 90 against Zimbabwe, or he got, I think he was the 2nd highest scorer in the entire World Cup. But generally people doesn't talk about him because that he doesn't look flamboyant type, or he is not a so-called Jayasurya type or De Silva type, but I think he contributed a lot in that World Cup. And then when we had Mahanama batting at number 5, I pushed down to number 6 because that the 2 fast bowlers were bowling. So I pushed down to number 6, and then we had very good contribution from Mahanama got a 50. Aravinda played a magnificent innings. I thought his 66 in that game was the best I have seen, much better than the 100 I saw in the finals. But the way Tilakaratna batted, the way Vas batted, the way Dharmasena batted, when we knew that we were passing 200, that we knew that we had a chance to win, especially the wickets started crumbling, and we knew that we had to get Asharuddin and Tendulkar out, and then the entire show was ours.
So 250, you felt defending 250 was very much on because you felt that the wicket was now going to suit Sri Lanka's type of bowling.
Yeah, the advantage we had 2 main spinners, then we had 2 half bowlers whom can end up bowling 10 overs. And when we were trying to defend 250, we knew that we had to get Tendulkar out quickly. And when he was playing, you couldn't see anything wrong with the wicket. It was more like a placid batting track. Then suddenly, as soon as he got out, the entire complex changed. It can happen, especially with the top players, because he was very positive. He was playing his shots. He was not under pressure. I'm sure that he was under pressure, but he never showed that he was under pressure. But when we took Tendulkar, we knew that we need to get Asharuddin out quickly, because Asa is another player who can change a game anytime. And we were a little scared of Asa and Tendulkar rather than the entire Indian squad. So when we got both out, we knew that we were on the track, and we knew that we can stop them getting 200 runs.
When it ended finally with all those incidents of stone pelting and the game had to be called off, it still says in the official scorecards that Sri Lanka won by default. Of course, you were going to win the game. Did that take a little bit of the sweetness away of the fact that you were in a World Cup final?
I still can't remember how we end up. I don't look at scorecards, but generally I know that Indian public was very disappointed, especially I'm sure that they were very keen to see India winning another World Cup, but when it got hampered, I'm sure that they were not targeting us, or they were not, they were trying to show the disappointment they had, and we knew that it can happen in India anywhere. It doesn't have to be Eden Garden, it can be anywhere in India, but we were not disappointed. I still can remember, I still have a huge placard back home signed by million people saying we are very sorry, and generally we were a little disappointed to come out, like we were very keen to win properly and come out, but then as soon as Clive Lloyd came inside and said we are finishing, you all have won the game, and it really struck me and said, okay, you are in the finals.
Now, you, unlike the Australians who played, I think, their semi-final after you had 4 days to go from Calcutta to reach Lahore, to build up towards the final, to let the enormity of it sink in to players who had worked all their life to come to a moment of this kind. Was that a good thing? 4 days in the build up to the biggest moment of your lives?
I never, even now I never thought, or I never think that the players were under pressure. They were more like when they played the semi-finals, they were just playing another game. That's the concept given to the team.
I believe you tell a story of players trying to bargain for carpets.
Absolutely, I'll get into that. I think it's something I think I was the only guy who was under, not pressure, I will say that I was not comfortable at all that particular day. But having 4 days, I think the first day we watched the Australian game, and then they announced Sanath as the player of the tournament, and we all were thrilled and happy for another colleague. And I still can remember I was in my normal lungi, and then when I think Ravi Shastri or someone announced, I got into another shirt and walked towards Sanath's room to see the entire team was inside his room and wishing him. So it was more like a family unit we had. So then we were in Lahore, we went for practice, we had a swimming session. It was more like a real casual couple of days. Then just about 2 days prior to the finals, we said, right, let's get into business. We had 2 day-night practices. I think that gave us another idea about due. And I can remember Australia came and practiced early, when by 5:30 they left the ground, and when we practiced till about 7:30 both days, and suddenly we realized dew started coming around 6:30, and we were a little worried about the conditions, because that we were depending on our spinners, and we knew that if we are going to bowl second, that we are going to get into this issue again. So we were more concerned about batting, chasing, but record shows that no World Cup team won batting second. So there were a lot of theories behind these issues, but I still can remember it was a day-night game. I got up in the morning and I was feeling a little uncomfortable. There were slight tightness in my body for a change. I never go through that in my entire career. But I went down to have breakfast. I saw Hashan and Roshan having breakfast, and I asked him, where are the others? And then he said, yeah, there's a carpet exhibition downstairs. And we are just finishing. I said, let me grab something and come, and I think they stayed with me till I finished breakfast. I could see the Australian team seated in one particular area, like they were very tense. They looked very tense. They never looked at us even. Like we were very casual. We said morning or whatever it is, and we 3 of us walked towards a carpet exhibition, and I could see players like Jayasuryas, Kaluvitaranas, Muralis, they were bargaining for carpets. And that's the time I realized, my gosh, are we playing a World Cup final today? And then I thought I should not interfere in this. I should get into the same mode. Otherwise, I will be under pressure. And I never wanted to put pressure on the players.
So did you buy up a carpet that day?
I did actually. I got a very good deal on my carpet as well. I got almost like 75% discount on my carpet. And I think most of the players got that. And tell you another story where I always wanted my mother to come to see the finals. And she was sick at that particular time. She never wanted to travel. Then I called my wife and I told her, why don't you bring her and come? Then she said, why don't you call and tell her to come? So I called her and I said, Amma's mother, Amma, why don't you come for the finals? Then she said, no, I'm not well. I will stay at home. I can watch on TV. So I told her something. I said, I still can remember, I told her that you might able to see a World Cup final. You might able to see one of your, because I had four more younger brothers playing cricket as well. So I said, you might able to see one of your sons playing in a World Cup final. You might able to see a son captaining a World Cup, another son, but you might not able to see one of your sons winning a World Cup. So don't miss this opportunity. I was very adamant and positive, and she came with my wife and my son.
I want to talk a little bit about the game, obviously, because you mentioned briefly about winning the toss and choosing to do something which you traditionally didn't do, but the reason for that was the dew. But then Australia started quite well. Mark Taylor got them off to a good start. Ricky Ponting joined in. At that point, was there ever a thought that maybe I've made the wrong choice and they'll get a big total?
Not really. I always thought if we can keep them under 270, that we have the batsman who can chase this total. And we knew that Australia will struggle with the spinners. Not really struggle with the spinners. They will pull back when the spinners comes. But we never expected Aravinda to perform so well. We never expected him to come as a part-time bowler and get 3 wickets, but it was his day, no doubt about it. The way he bowled, the way he fielded, and he was everywhere. When a catch goes, he is there to catch. When the ball is given, he picks a very important wicket. So it was more like when when Kumar, Dharmasena, Murali, and Aravinda started bowling. The run rate went down, and we knew that if we can keep them under 270, that we have a very strong case to win the World Cup.
241, you felt that was just about where you wanted them. At the end of it, it was just 241. You had this great batting lineup that you've been speaking about.
Tell you honestly, I was thrilled when I could keep them under 250. I still can remember when I looked at some of the highlights, I still see after the innings, I clap and congratulate all the players, because I knew that we have a strong case to win, and the contribution made by the half bowlers and fielding was first class, no doubt about it. I think we fielded the best on the entire tournament, and I felt whoever who was contributing, whatever they do, they were contributing. So that was a huge plus mark for me.
But then the unexpected happens again, or at least something you prepare for but would rather not see happen, which is the loss of Jayasuriya and Kaluvitaraana without contributing much. That was a setback.
It was. We were expecting one of them to fire, maybe get about 60 runs in the first 15 overs. When we lost Sanath, we thought Kalu might. It may be Kalu's day, because he kept very well. He took some brilliant stumpings. So we thought it was his day. Then suddenly straight away, then he got out, and I thought credit should go to Guru Singh the way he batted. He kept one side going. Not only he kept one side going, he was attacking as well. He was very harsh on Shane Warne at one particular time, and Aravinda once again from semi-finals, he continued his form in the finals. The way he batted, he took a lot of responsibility, and we knew that we had to. Maybe number 3, 4, 5, 6 had to finish the game. We didn't want number 7 to get involved. So that was the plan. When we lost 2 early wickets, we always thought Aravinda will be the key factor.
And the Aussies were dropping catches because on the fence as well, Stuart Law dropped a straightforward catch of Guru Sinha, I believe. So clearly there was one team that was enjoying the moment and one team that had, for the last few days, as you've been saying, feeling the pressure of the moment.
I think we realized that any top team can be under pressure on that particular day. We saw that happening on the breakfast table when we saw the Australians, the way they were under a lot of pressure. And I realized when I walked into the carpet exhibition that we were not under pressure.
Maybe they should have been buying carpets too, Arjuna.
Absolutely, I think they were more keen on winning. And even I still can remember there was another incident where we had a massive dinner previous day, and there was this long table. I think the head table, if I can remember, there were about 30-40 people seated. I was on one corner, Mark Taylor was on the other corner, and the World Cup was on a showcase in front of where I was seated. So I could see a lot of Australian cricketers came and took photographs. So I think it was Upul Chandana came and said, someone said, why don't we take some photographs? So then Upul Chandana, he didn't play a single game, but he said, no, we are taking this home so we can take enough photographs at home.
I've got to ask you about Aravinda De Silva because he's this great Sri Lankan batsman. Arjuna Ranatunga, the great Sri Lankan captain with a wonderful record of his own, but Aravinda De Silva is feted as this great Sri Lankan batsman. But you've seen so much of him. Was that the best he ever played?
I thought the semi-final innings was the best I have seen. And I have seen him playing on really bad tracks, getting big scores. But when you analyze the occasion, I think he came out at the right time, semi-finals and the finals. I was very lucky that I could play cricket on the other side. When he was batting, I can remember some of the innings he played on really difficult tracks. And I was wondering whether he played with a different sort of a bat or whether he plays with a different sort of a willow, the way he was playing. And I was very honored that he was one of the best I have seen.
I want to ask you though about this little battle within a battle, Arjuna Ranatunga versus Shane Warne. A lot has been, that battle was fought a lot in the papers and in the media. But that day you dominated him. One of the enduring images of that World Cup final is you dancing down the wicket, hit him straight down for a 4 and him just completely flabbergasted at what's just happened. You enjoyed that.
We always wanted to beat Australia. That was one of the targets we had after the Australian tour. It has nothing to do with the players, but
you wanted to beat Shane Warne.
Absolutely. Like I tell you honestly, I never had problem facing him. I maybe a left-hander because I had that particular advantage, but generally I get on with him very well. But when we play cricket in the middle, we fight each other, and he's a tough competitor, no doubt about it. But I still say that he is highly overrated bowler compared to some of the bowlers produced in this part of the world.
I want to bring you to the final moments, Nen. You score the winning runs, and it was, you've touched on this, you and Aravinda De Silva there together, and this greatest moment in Sri Lankan cricket arrives. Can you just think back, Arjuna, it's been 14-15 years now since that day. Exactly what went through your mind when you knew that it's been achieved?
I can remember Aravinda got a boundary on the last ball in the previous over, and then I had the opportunity to get the winning runs, and I was feeling a little uncomfortable. I thought Aravinda did most of the work, he should have finished the game, but I think that's how the game went, and I think God was very kind of my side rather than Ari's side. But generally we always wanted to achieve this, and what I still can remember, just before that delivery, Aravinda came and said, Arju, we can finish this. We really fought hard to come to this level. Don't play a bad shot. Don't get out. Don't allow the next one to come in. And it was once again, it was so glad that we were together in the middle when we won this particular very important cricketing World Cup.
Let me ask you one couple of questions about the World Cup before we just look ahead to 2011. What did Benazir Bhutto say to you when that trophy came in here? Do you remember that? It was quite a chaotic kind of ceremony to to hand the World Cup over, but that happens in our part of the world.
I think I really struggled to get into the stage as well. Like there were more people. I think there were more people than the crowd. More like there were about 20, 30 people on that stage. And I think she congratulated me, and she said something like, it was great to see a small country like Sri Lanka winning the World Cup.
What was it like coming home? Any memories of that after with the World Cup in hand?
There was this charter flight came, and there were more Sri Lankans in that flight, including my family was there. Asanga's mother and father was there. Roshan's parents were there. Aravinda's mother and father was there, and Hashan's parents were there. So all 5 senior cricketers, their parents, their wives, some of the other younger cricketers. Generally, we couldn't get into the flight because it was a chock-a-block flight. Sri Lankan Airlines workers who came on that flight, they were asked to stay back. And I can remember that my son was seated on my lap. And it was more like a chock-a-block thing. I still can't understand how we went on that. About 18 of us went on that aircraft. It was a full aircraft. Maybe they might have got rid of about 10 guys, but there were, I am sure that there were cricketers seated on crew seats, maybe pilot seats. But it was something really enjoyed because we still can remember. I still can remember by the time we landed in Colombo, and it was more like we could see a lot of heads, and we couldn't. It took almost like 3.5 hours to reach Colombo because the crowds were there right on the roads, and President Kumaratunga couldn't come to the airport, but she wanted us to come straight to the President's house, so we had to. There were special vehicles sent by the President Kumaratunga at that time. So it took almost like 4 hours. I reached the last, and it took almost 4 hours for me to reach from Colombo airport to the President's house.
Now looking ahead to a World Cup that's coming up. Since then, Sri Lanka have done well international cricket. They're one of the now top 5 or 6 test and one day playing nations in the world, but haven't won a World Cup. Came close last time in the final, but haven't won a World Cup. Do you think they can do it this time?
I think they are one of the favorites, no doubt about it. I'm sure that especially playing in our part of the world, it will give them a huge advantage. And I feel that if you analyze, if someone asks me a question, which side will win the World Cup, it will be very difficult to pinpoint whether it can be India, it can be Sri Lanka. Maybe South Africa and England will be there as well. But for me, the underdog will be Pakistan.
Some of the players in the team, some of the seniors have become legends of the game. Sangha, Jayawardene, Murli retired from Test cricket but wants to play a part in the one-day format. Do you think that there's a solid group of senior players who can really drive the Sri Lankans this time?
I still feel that we have a problem in our middle order because Sangakkara and Jayawardene bats number 3 and 4. Dilshan open. So we are sacrificing 3 top players in the first 4 positions. So it's something I will never allow that to happen if I am the captain. But I think they have performed well when the pressure is not there. So I think that's the reason Sangha and Jayawardene prefer to bat number 3 and 4.
A couple of very interesting new or talented new players who've made a statement in the world. Angelo Matthews is one. Upul Taranga has done well as an opener. So you've got a younger lot of players who are showing a lot of promise.
I'm sure that they have done pretty well, but once again I will say that middle order is my worry. But it's very important when it comes to a crucial World Cup. If they don't crumble, that is the key factor.
Final couple of questions. One thing, as one of the students of the game who thinks a lot about it, the World Cup is being considered as a test case for the one-day format itself, which seems to be supposedly under threat from this 2020 revolution. Do you believe that the 50-over format itself will need to be looked at? And the World Cup is very important to analyze where the 50-over game is.
It's very important when you play Test cricket and one-day version, 50-over version. You need it's a character building. It's not just going there and slogging or just bowling 24 deliveries. It's more like building your family life or maybe your entire life. So you need thinking, you need the intelligence, you need a lot of commitment when you are playing in a 50 over game rather than a 20-20. You just majority of the success will be luck.
Let me ask you one final question. The Wankhede Stadium on the 2nd of April will host the final. Will that be a dream final for Arjuna Ranatunga, India versus Sri Lanka maybe? Is that something that would be top of your mind maybe when you think of what could be a dream final?
I think India Sri Lanka will be a dream final, no doubt about it. One thing I'll tell you, I'm a great fan of Sachin Tendulkar, not because of anything, the way he played, the commitment, and I'm one guy who will spend money to come and watch him. I normally don't buy tickets and go and watch cricket, but
you don't need to.
and if I'm sure that if India Sri Lanka plays a finals in Wankhede Stadium on the 2nd, I'm sure that I'll try and come and watch. Hope that Sri Lanka will win. Hope Tendulkar will perform, because this may be his last World Cup. I'm sure that he is hoping to end up in a different pattern. But generally it will be a dream final for the Asians. I'm sure that India will be looking forward. I'm sure that Sri Lankans are looking forward to see both countries playing in the finals.
All right. Arjuna Ranatunga, thank you very much for talking to us and sharing those wonderful memories. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.